Greetings, colleagues, greetings, friends, and the MelVee International family. I'm Melusin Jalambe, your host for this testimony, a powerful story. Like I always say, there's nothing that shows the power of God than your personal testimony. And therefore, my friends, today we have a special guest, a special friend and colleague. I will tell you a little bit about him just in a second. But before I do that, let me invite you, friends, if you are watching this channel for the first time, please do remember to click the subscription button and also click that bell so that when we upload new content, you'll be able to get it. And we thank you so much for taking time to visit our channel. Today, we want to share about the power of Christ in changing lives. I don't know what your situation is, where you are, my friends, and the things that concern you, but this life as we have it can change us. This life as we have it can bring curveballs and situations that in themselves may look like they are the worst things ever to happen to us, but they could be the very things that lead us to the cross of Christ. I'm very privileged today to have my brother and colleague Thapelo. Greetings, Thapelo, and welcome.
No, welcome, and thank you for the invitation. I'm so glad to come and share my own journey.
Yes.
It's a torturous journey one to the cross.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm so very privileged. In fact, I enjoy sharing my story because that's where the gospel is. That's where the power is revealed. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks so much. Now, your name, Thapelo Masokoane.
Yes.
What does it mean?
In actual fact, I have two names of which I realize later on after I came to Christ to say these two names have a greater meaning. My first name is Thapelo.
Yes.
Now in Sotho, Tswana or Pedi, Thapelo means prayer.
Prayer, yes.
Then the following name is surprise.
All right.
Just surprise.
The surprises,
the
the surprises
surprises.
of prayer.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I remember while growing up, I was young. My mom used to look at me to say, I am going to be a surprise to the world. But she didn't know what she was saying. I didn't understand it when I received as a little child.
So you were born in a family. Tell us about your birth, your childhood experiences, and your growing up. Who was Thapelo as a young child in your parents' home?
Yes, I was born and bred in the dusty street of Tembisa.
All right.
In Tembisa Hospital, 1991. And upon my arrival in the stage of action on this planet Earth, I was born to a single parent.
All right.
I'm the third to be born in my family. I have two brothers before me, then two sisters behind me.
All right.
Yeah, so growing up as a child, it was never an easy journey because first and foremost, we never had a proper shelter. I remember when I was doing grade 7 in Tembisa, Mondiopo Primary School, my mom didn't have a rent. You know, we were struggling. We were at the borders of eviction because of we didn't have money. My mom didn't have money to rent. And remember, she was working as a kitchen girl.
All right.
So it was really a tough one to the extent that we were evicted where we were staying. We became homeless. So
at this stage, you're growing up, where's your father?
I don't know my father.
You've never met your
I
father?
don't know him. I'm now turning 29 years this year. I don't know my father.
Wow. So you're growing up in a single mother-headed household.
Yes.
You are evicted.
Yes. So it was a very hard journey to mention, and I must say that one of the things, maybe coming back to what you are saying, talking about my experience of the absence of my father, it really created a very emotional tension within me because you hang around other kids, you know, they talk about my dad, and you're asking yourself, because now you're seeing mommy playing two roles at home. She's playing a role of a mother, and at the same time, she has to play a role of a father. So it's one of the things that actually broke me down because I used to ask myself questions to say, why did my father decide to leave me in my infancy stage? Was I not worth it? Was I not, maybe he didn't like me, you know, those kind of things. So I was asking myself questions about my father. And yeah, it's something that actually hurt me most.
And so you growing up with an absent father. In fact, you're one of the millions of children in South Africa and in Africa where you grow up with what we call absent fathers. And of course, in this case, it could be that they just had a quick time together, you were conceived, but there was never a plan to get married. And so to the men out there, I don't know where you are and what you're doing, when you just plant babies and you're not available, you are actually creating a serious dissonance and challenges for our children out there. So children are supposed to grow up in a warm family where mom and dad are there. It actually helps. Now you are emotionally in turmoil. You are angry. What are some of the feelings that you had as you grew up, and how did these feelings manifest, or how did they show up in your life? How did you handle those feelings of growing up angry, poor, no resources? How did you handle that?
Yeah, first we need to understand that a role model of every boy child, first and foremost, it has to be a father in the house. So you need to look at your father. That's the first person you admire to be like. It's your father. So if the father is not there playing his role, you have to go outside to find a role model. And outside you end up finding wrong role model. Obviously now I went outside, I look at people who were going, doing crimes, bringing cars, and I started admiring their lifestyle to say, well, maybe this is what life is all about. So they're dealing with those emotional tensions. First, you need to do what I call, in fact, it's in the psychological term, it's called coping mechanism.
Yes.
I needed something to cope, to escape reality, and that was obviously drugs. I had to now turn to drugs. First, maybe let me not go there. First, let me put it this way. I remember I used to hang around with good crowd. Young, because I used to play soccer. I even went to School of Excellence because I was powerful, in playing soccer.
You were skilled.
Yeah, but now the problem is when I hang around with this good child who are coming from a good background, I didn't fit in.
Okay.
I didn't find a place to fit in or to identify, to relate with their circumstances, with their situation.
Yes. Even their stories.
Their stories is different.
You don't identify with them. You feel excluded.
Every time when there's a conversation, hey, mom and dad, they're doing this and we've been this. And there's no food at home. You are struggling. In fact, you need to make plan for your meal.
Yeah.
You need to make plan for your toilet. It's not like mom was not playing her role. I just love my mom. She died 2016, but I love the fact that she was there trying her level best to see that we are eating, to see that we are dressed. So the emotional tension turned me to drugs.
Wow.
I end up smoking drugs. I became aggressive. That's what it leads you to.
Anger manifests in that aggression.
I remember from even primary school, I used to fight with teachers. I will slap the teacher. I was just this troubled young lad growing, and people didn't recognize, because you need to have a story behind the story, understanding what's the problem with this young child behaving the way I was behaving. So I turned to drugs, and you must understand, drugs, it's another problem. In and of itself, drugs, it's another problem. So
let me just interrupt you there. So you're hanging with these good friends, you're not fitting in. So how did you transition to the drug gangs and the drug guys?
So, you need to find people you can relate to. So I went to those who were like me, who were having problems like me. So I can identify all. When we are, gathering together, we have same story. We can have same story. We are talking the same things.
Same language.
Same language, same lifestyle. I'm from my household, there's no food. Now we can comfort each other. But now we needed something to cope with that.
Right.
I didn't just smoke drugs. We started, with cigarette and say, but cigarette is not enough. Let's transition to dacha.
Wow.
Then dacha was not enough. You're just graduating from one stage to another. Then we find ourselves doing drugs. Now, drug is a habit. You need to feed it. That's when now we tend to crime, etc.
To get the money.
To get the money and feed the habit.
Wow. So what is the crime that got you into trouble with the law? because you have a conviction on you. You say you've gone to prison for 15 years. What went wrong?
In fact, maybe let me start so, because like I said, I'm 29 years old, and I can say all of my youth were spent in and out of prison.
Wow.
Because I didn't just started with 15 years in prison. You know, it started small things. You know, at home you're stealing that 2 rand.
Wow.
You know, you are beaten, and it just transitioned. So I remember my first crime, we were caught for housebreaking with my friends. So we were minors by then, so we were taken to Krugerstop. There's a place called Jumbo Place of Safety. It's for the juveniles. You know, it's not merely a prison, but you are locked, etc. So I started there, and we were given suspended sentence.
Okay, because you were children.
Now we come outside. That's how I started. You know, we were doing crimes. I was involved in many crimes where some of my friends died in the crime scene.
Wow.
You know, because you escalate. My first experience with prison, it was in Modapi. Modapi prison, we were awaiting trial there. So when you are sitting in prison, you start to listen to other people who have committed bigger crimes. And you know, this one you hear and you look at your story and say, maybe I need to even graduate more to be in that type of level with these people. So that's the problem when I listen to say, oh no man, we're stealing cars, we're doing this. And I'm saying, but I'm arrested for just DVDs in a township. Now I need to come up, you know. And so that's how it went about when I come out of prison. Now you have connections because you know people from prison, you exchange numbers. Hey, I'm staying in Davidson, I'm staying in Soweto, I'm staying where you start visiting. So, and people admired me because they say I have this boldness, you know, but I have this nerve. We love this young man. He has, you know,
courage.
That courage. You know, when we are out there, he can take now the gun and, you know, rob the person in front of everyone watching daylight. So I was that type of young man.
So that anger is graduating into that fierceness that is in you, and it's manifesting itself in crime, and you are graduating. Now I see why they also call prisons colleges. You know, there's that language somewhere that they say it's a college. You go in there for this small crime, you feel, no man, I need to get to that higher crime. So when you come out, that's why possibly some prisoners end up offending the second time, because it's part of them trying to do much more. So finally, what is the crime that gets you into prison for 15 years?
Yeah, but before I can maybe answer that question, I just want to go, because this is very emotional to me, especially my dad's situation. I used to ask my mom, you know, we used to have a back and forth conversation, and every time when we engage in that type of conversation, we fought. So when I asked mom, because at home, we were 5. Like I said, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I was in the middle. So those ones, my brothers and sisters, they used to go and see their dad December time. You know, they will be bought clothes. I will be left home. And I'm asking now, what happened? Where's my dad? So I don't know what my father did to my mother. Even to this day, my mom died and she never gave me an accurate answer to say, what happened to your father? And that, it killed me, because now you see your brothers coming, and I was waiting for the money that they received from their fathers so that it can be, you know, consolidated and contributed for me to go and get clothes for December. So that thing for me, it really pained me, especially the father side. It's very emotional for me, because I have a daughter today, and always when I look at that daughter, something subconsciously behind my mind is saying to me, to say, Thapelo, you know what you have experienced, so you cannot by any means live this sort, because being in your child's life, it's not about money, but it's the presence. You know, they say a poor present dad is better than an absent rich dad. So for me, it's very emotional.
That's powerful. That's powerful. A poor present dad is better than an absent rich dad.
Yeah, so for me...
That's a powerful statement out there for all the men who are watching. Please be present, be available, be there.
Yes, so that's the thing that it made me angry. I was, if maybe it was possible, but I know it's not possible. I have scars. I used to fight a lot. You know, poor people always need to defend themselves everywhere. I used to fight a lot. But the crime that got me into a 15-year prison, it's a very sensitive one, because now I can say this, I was a master tactician when it comes to crime, because now I moved from the townships to the suburbs.
Wow.
So I used to go and scout. They call it a scout, somebody who goes and lingers around the corner and investigate. If you're a businessman, we will investigate you, where you work as a white mason. And because I drove a car at the age 11 years, so they called me Michael Schumacher, because I used to drive faster when we are chased by the cops, etc. So we went to this house, and yes, there was a house robbery. My two friends were gunned down in the crime scene.
Wow.
And in fact, I need to even say this, because every time, whenever I lay my hand on a pillow, I always ask myself, what if I was found behind that cupboard that day? Because my friend, when the armed response arrived, we tried to hide. I don't know what they thought, because my friend tried to run and he was shot by a armed response. And the other one, the same thing. I don't know, he was trying to take out a gun and he was shot.
Wow.
So two of my friends, they ran off. So they were caught around the suburb.
The area, yeah.
So I was remaining in the house behind the cupboard. And I was only found when the police arrived
Later
on. And when I woke, you know, I was tied with the
cable tires.
Cable tires.
Yes.
And I look at my friends lying there covered with the foil. Even to this day, I always ask myself, why God did spare me? Was my life better than their lives? It's a mystery. It's something that I cannot answer. I don't even have an answer for that. But I just thank God for sparing my life on that day. So I was arrested, we were charged with house robbery, possession of unlicensed firearms, and murder of a first degree.
Sure.
So yes, I was a juvenile again. So we were arrested, but 18 years. So I was going to Modabe, but I was the youngest one
in that group.
In that group, because we were third now. The two died in the crime scene. So I remember on the 14th November, you know, 11:45, Preacher Street High Court.
Wow.
So I was standing there before the magistrate court, you know, waiting for what must come.
Yeah.
And guilty as charged, because now it was a judgment day. And as the verdict was read out, you know, I was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
Wow.
And no one was there at court for me, you know, support my family. Not because they didn't want to be there, but there was no money to even get to Johannesburg to come and listen the way we were suffering, the poverty. And it's so painful. It's so painful. I remember going down the stairs, I was asking myself question to say, why was I born? What is the meaning of life? Why am I here? Was I born just to become a terrorist, terrorize my community? Why can't I be? Because I remember the time I was going in and out of prison, I used to see people I grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, they were moving into careers, they were moving into business life. You know, they were becoming fathers, good men. And I was just becoming this junkie who smokes drugs and steals and come. You know, people used to say to me when they see me in township, they say, we know you are on holiday. You will be back home.
All
and
right.
my home was prison. That's how, that was the last resort. So I remember going down the stairs, I felt like if you went to Coal Reef City, I felt like I was in a merry-go-round. I felt like the world was spinning. I cried, but it couldn't help. I couldn't understand. I don't know, have you ever been in the situation where you are just powerless? I was just broken down. I just wanted to die, in fact. I remember even this cop, you know, he was taking me to take the fingerprints, and he was just busy on my case. He said, hey, now you are going to prison. Now you are going, you've been stealing. You are going to reap what you sow. But then there was nothing I can do. Yeah. So I went to Sun City. Then I arrived in prison.
Yeah, so you were serving at Sun City. Discuss your experience in prison. How did it impact on your life?
Now, prison, it's another world.
Mm.
It's a totally different world that someone can find himself in. They say each and every dog hustle for its bone there inside.
Wow.
There's wars, there's gangsterism, but there's also church, there's also school.
Wow.
So one has to make a decision. It's all about the choice.
Okay.
Even in prison, it's all about the choice. It's not
All
like
right.
it has the bad side. It also has the positive side. The individual, he's the one must make a decision. Now, arriving in prison, I didn't get visit. So I didn't have toiletries, you know, those kind of things, the peanut butters, the little things.
The extras to make your life a bit comfortable.
To work. So I didn't get that. I used to depend only on the prison food. And sometimes prison food, they are steam food. So it's not good enough for you because you eat, be 10 minutes, you are hungry. Then, because I was smoking now, I don't get visit. I have to again join a gangsterism, again in prison. The same thing took place outside. Now I find it again in prison.
Okay.
And mind you, outside they were using me. I was used in a wrong context. Now I'm in prison, again I'm used in the wrong context. I was initiated into gangsterism. They call it 26.
26.
28.
Oh, you came across that 26.
I was part of it. I was
Wow.
part of that initiation, and they liked me because I have a gift of talking. You know, they will send me this guy. They say I must go talk to him, and I will talk him out, take his stuff, sell it, and I come to the gang and say, "Wow, this is Nsizwa, this is a man." Now we smoke and
Wow.
everything, but then every time I get into trouble. Every time when the wardens are coming, they are looking for Thapelo. If someone is stepped in the section, where's Thapelo? I have to account. And
All right.
I was beaten every time. And the rule in the gang is that you don't confess one another.
All right.
Yeah,
you don't sell your gang
you-
member.
you
You,
do-
fight for them. You stand and take the beating.
If you are caught, you have to stand alone there. Now, I was tired of that because I could see, and some of the people, they were telling me, "Thapelo, you are being used here. We've been here long time before you arrived here. We know these things and you don't." Then, I was just tired again. So I sat back and asked myself, I remember going to tell them to say, "Guys, wait, I need to find myself now." Because I couldn't understand what was happening.
So here you are. You feel still angry. You now have a criminal conviction. No one is visiting you. You're abandoned. And you're being used in prison. How did you carry all of this to the point where you said, it's either I die doing this or I have to change? I'm looking for that Damascus moment. You are in prison. What is it that tipped you to be who you are? Because right now, my friends, we're talking to Thapelo, sharing his life story and his testimony of how he was raised up and how he got involved into crime and ended up in prison for 15 years. But I want to find out from him in the next few minutes what happened. What was the Damascus moment? Don't go away. Join us in a short while.